When it comes to the life of Jesus Christ, most people are familiar with the well-documented events of his birth, ministry, crucifixion, and resurrection. But the Bible is mysteriously silent about a large portion of his life, roughly 18 years that span from his appearance at the temple at age 12 to the beginning of his ministry around age 30. This gap, often called the missing years of Jesus, has sparked centuries of speculation, religious debate, and even conspiracy. The New Testament simply says in Luke 2:52 that Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man, leaving the rest to the imagination. So where was Jesus during those lost years? Did he stay in Nazareth living a quiet life as a carpenter? Or did he travel far beyond Judea, perhaps to India, Tibet, or even the British Isles? Here are some of the most shocking and controversial theories about where Jesus may have been during the silent years of his life. 1. Jesus traveled to India and studied Hinduism and Buddhism. One of the most widely circulated and shocking theories suggests that Jesus traveled to India, Nepal, and Tibet, where he studied Eastern religions. This idea gained traction in the 19th century when Russian explorer Nicholas Notovich claimed to have found ancient scrolls in a Tibetan monastery that described the life of a Saint Isa, believed to be Jesus. According to Notovich's controversial book, The Unknown Life of Jesus Christ, the young Jesus traveled to India at age 13 and studied with Hindu Brahmins and Buddhist monks until he was about 29. He supposedly preached about compassion, equality, and the illusion of caste, ideas that got him into trouble with local religious authorities, forcing him to return to the Middle East. Although many scholars have dismissed Notovich's account as a fabrication, others have pointed out striking similarities between the teachings of Jesus and those of Eastern traditions, especially Buddhism's emphasis on love, nonviolence, and detachment from material things. Could it be that Jesus found spiritual enlightenment in the East and brought those teachings back to Judea? 2. Jesus went to Egypt and studied mystery schools. Another powerful theory places Jesus in Egypt during his lost years, suggesting he was initiated into the Egyptian mystery schools. These ancient schools taught sacred knowledge about metaphysics, alchemy, astrology, and the secrets of the soul's journey, wisdom passed down from priests and mystics. According to esoteric Christian traditions and authors like Manly P. Hall and Edgar Cayce, Egypt was a hot spot of spiritual knowledge. Some say Jesus may have studied in Heliopolis or even the Temple of Luxor, learning the Hermetic principles and developing his healing abilities. This theory aligns with the biblical account of the Holy Family fleeing to Egypt during Jesus' early childhood. It's not unthinkable that Jesus, curious and spiritually gifted, might have returned to Egypt as a young man to seek deeper truths. Proponents argue that this would explain Jesus' command over nature, his miraculous healing, and his cryptic references to spiritual rebirth, ideas that mirror Egyptian teachings about transformation and ascension. 3. Jesus lived in Britain and studied with the Druids. One of the most unusual theories comes from British legend, that Jesus visited the British Isles and studied with the Druids. This idea was popularized by 18th and 19th century mystics and even made its way into literature through the poet William Blake, who wrote in his famous poem Jerusalem, "And did those feet in ancient time walk upon England's mountains green?" According to this legend, Jesus traveled with his great-uncle, Joseph of Arimathea, a wealthy merchant who traded tin and visited Cornwall. While in Britain, Jesus allegedly studied the mystical wisdom of the Druids, who were known for their knowledge of nature, astronomy, and the spiritual world. Though lacking archaeological evidence, this theory continues to fascinate. Some even claim Glastonbury as the site of a young Jesus sojourn, one of the reasons the area remains a spiritual Mecca to this day. 4. Jesus was a member of the Essenes. A more grounded but still controversial theory is that Jesus spent his missing years living among the Essenes, a Jewish sect known for its ascetic lifestyle and deep devotion to spiritual purity. The Essens lived in isolated communities near the Dead Sea, including the now famous Qumran site, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered. The scrolls describe a messianic figure, a teacher of righteousness, who bears eerie similarities to Jesus, a prophetic leader rejected by the mainstream religious authorities, who taught about the end of days and inner purification. Some scholars believe Jesus either was trained by the Essenes or was heavily influenced by their teachings. This would explain his radical break from the temple establishment, his practice of baptism, his use of apocalyptic language, and his focus on inner transformation. 5. Jesus traveled the Silk Road to China. A lesser-known but increasingly intriguing theory suggests that Jesus traveled the ancient Silk Road to China. There he would have encountered Taoist sages, Confucian scholars, and possibly Buddhist monks. While there is little historical evidence to support this, some point to certain parallels between Taoist teachings and Jesus' sayings, such as the emphasis on humility, surrender, and harmony with the divine. A few fringe researchers even claim to have found ancient Chinese scrolls referencing a wise man from the West who taught about a heavenly Father and performed miraculous acts. While the evidence is thin, it fuels the imagination of those seeking a more global view of Jesus' spiritual journey. 6. Jesus was preparing in seclusion in Nazareth. The most conservative theory, and the one accepted by mainstream Christianity, is that Jesus simply remained in Nazareth, working as a carpenter and living a quiet life with his family. During this time, he would have studied Jewish scriptures, reflected on his spiritual mission, and gradually awakened to his identity as the Messiah. This theory holds that Jesus' transformation did not require international travel, but rather deep spiritual growth and communion with God in solitude. When he re-emerges at age 30 to be baptized by John, he is already fully aware of his divine purpose. 7. Jesus was in a secret training program by divine beings. Venturing into metaphysical territory, some New Age and mystical thinkers believe that Jesus spent his lost years in training with ascended masters or divine beings, possibly in hidden monasteries or even on other dimensions. This theory posits that Jesus was being prepared for his role as a world teacher and spiritual avatar. He may have undergone initiations, mystical experiences, and spiritual downloads in places not accessible to ordinary humans. Channelers like Edgar Cayce spoke of Jesus' soul journey through various incarnations before becoming the Christ. According to this view, the missing years are hidden not because they were uneventful, but because they involve mysteries that humanity still isn't ready to fully understand. The missing years of Jesus remain one of the most intriguing gaps in religious history. Whether he was meditating in the Himalayas, debating Druids in Britain, or quietly carving wood in Nazareth, one thing is certain: the silence invites speculation, and the speculation reveals the global hunger for spiritual connection. Perhaps that's part of the divine plan. By leaving those years open to interpretation, Jesus becomes not just a figure of one culture or tradition, but a universal symbol whose message transcends time, space, and dogma. In the end, the truth of Jesus' missing years may be less about geography and more about what each of us seeks: a journey inward, toward love, wisdom, and awakening. The missing years of Jesus remain one of the most intriguing gaps in religious history. In the end, the truth of Jesus' missing years may be less about geography and more about what each of us seeks: a journey inward, toward love, wisdom, and awakening. Download our free ebook, 20 Secrets to Attract Good Luck. Unlock the ancient wisdom and modern techniques to shift your energy and attract abundance, opportunity, and positive synchronicities into your life. Just click the link below to download it instantly. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to our channel, leave a comment below. See you in the next video. Stay curious, stay inspired.